I like that.
There
Well,
we
Vinny,
go.
looks like we're live.
I
It's
think
not
we're
t it's
live
it
now, Michael. How are you?
it's not 2 AM, it's 10 past 10. Mikey and Vinny take on the world on a morose,
Morning,
malfeasance Monday,
magnificent Monday.
and
Oh
here
man.
we are with the world at the edge of, you know, I came to the conclusion yesterday that this is what Israel and the Palestinians have been waiting for the whole time. Peace doesn't work for them. Negotiations don't work for them. Conversations at Camp David don't work for them. War, yeah, that gets their full attention. That gets their full attention. Yeah, we'll go for a war. We'll go for another little war. Sure, we will.
They're
Let's fight it right here. We'll
Yeah,
fight.
they're
We'll fight.
interested in answering the question, war, what is it good for? They'll show you. I mean,
It's
they'll
good for it's good for the Israelis. It's good for the Palestinians. It doesn't matter how many people are crying for peace or stop it or ceasefire or quit or don't do that. They will come to any juncture of the road, Vinny, and the solution is, hey, how about a little war? Wouldn't that be better than what we're doing right now?
it just and listen, we got into this a little bit on Friday. It just, I mean, I think it's a fool's errand to think that you're gonna go over there and straighten out 5,000 years of people that just don't like each other, you know?
But wait, the children are dying. That's right. We're killing the children, so there won't be a next generation of these people. So we can hate them in memory rather than in person.
Yeah, it's it stumps me how they can't figure out how to take that land and divide it so that everybody has a place.
Because that's our land, say both sides. Can't divide it. God gave it to us, say both sides. And even discussing it makes me mad. So let's go to war.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. It just doesn't. It seems like you have one side that's sworn to hate the other side. The other side hates the other side. The other side says, "Well, we'll live in peace with them, but they have to do this, this, and this." And the other side says, "Well, we're sworn to kill them."
And we're not doing it.
And we're not going to live in peace, peace, peace. We don't want to live in peace, peace, peace. It doesn't serve anybody. We're much off. When we're at war, we know where we're going. When
We
we're
got
not at war, we're lost.
we got Benjamin Netanyahu. Does he look like a man of peace to you? Does he look like he wants peace? Does he look like he understands peace? Does he look like
Doesn't
he'll
seem
make
like
peace?
it. I mean, it
No.
doesn't seem like it. It seems like, and listen, I can understand being a little country in the middle of a lot of countries that want to kill you. It's kind of hard to be for peace. I get that. And when the Hamas came running over the fence and flying into Israel on October 7th, I think it was.
Yes, October 7th.
Yeah, they didn't do anybody any favors in saying, well, the Palestinians are looking for peace because, as we even demonstrated on this show, people that are not familiar with the situation don't disengage the Hamas from the Palestinians.
And we're
It's
getting
all
to
one
yeah,
big bowl of soup.
and we're getting to the point now where there's a spokesman from the Israeli Defense Forces on every channel on every day, and they're saying things like, "We don't have to give Hamas fuel. They've been stockpiling it. They have enough fuel to fly a 747 around the world 12 times. Then why did you cut off the fuel? So they wouldn't have any. So now they don't have any. They need fuel. No, they've got fuel. They've been stockpiling it. But then why did you cut it off? Because they didn't have any fuel? No, they had fuel and they have plenty of fuel. Don't let them get you in a tangle on this. Don't misunderstand it. They've got fuel, they've got medicine, they've got water, even though we cut all that stuff off. And the reason we know this is our intelligence tells us that they've been stockpiling it. So you see, we didn't stop them from having all those things. They have plenty.
Well, your intelligence isn't working too good if you couldn't figure out that they were coming over that wall there, that fence.
And who would do that? Who actually would be the only person who would come over the wall and slaughter your families?
Well,
There
it seems
aren't three
the
suspects.
Hamas.
There's one suspect. Yeah.
Seems like the Hamas, but You know, it's odd to hear. And listen, I'm a student of World War II. I watched more World War II movies and documentaries than anybody has a right to watch. And I don't recall the United States telling the German people to get the hell out of there. We're going to start bombing. They just started bombing. They just started doing what they had to do. Um, war is fought differently these days. You try to get the civilians out of the way if you can. The problem is you're in a country where A, there's not a lot of room to send people, and B, the Israelis don't want to open up the gates to let any of the people from Palestine into Israel because they don't. And the poor Palestinians seems like nobody wants them. The Egyptians don't want to let them in. The Israelis don't want to let them in. Nobody wants these people.
Well, then let's have war.
So the only thing we can do is now start the bomb and annihilate the piss. And if we kill 3,000 people that are innocent in the process, well, that's the price of war.
And the good thing about that is, in case you thought there were no good things about killing 3,000 people, is that will continue the war. All those people will remember the war. All those people will demand vengeance for the war. They want revenge, and they don't want it cold, they want it hot. So
Right.
when
Area of the world.
when you go to the fence and look over and say, I wonder what's going on in Palestine these days. I wonder what's going on the West Bank of the Gaza Strip. Don't stick your head over the fence. They're just waiting for that. That's an act of war.
Well, you have a group of people who want to use any excuse that they can to hate the other people.
Yeah.
And I think in many ways it goes both ways.
Oh, it does, of course.
Yeah, I don't think that you can say, well, the Israelis are completely peace-loving people, and all they want to do is just live in peace, and that's it. That's all. There's blame to spread around on both sides, but what the Hamas did on October 7th is inexcusable.
Come and get me. Now what are you going to do? We slaughtered
Yeah,
your people. We went to the
yeah.
music festival and
I
shot
mean,
teenagers. What are you going to do
this
about it?
wouldn't be happening, or at least in my simplistic view of it. And I'm sure that there's a more complex view of it. That it seems to me that what we're engaging in now wouldn't be happening. But when you listen to all of the generals and all of the experts and all of the people who talk about this, it is so much more complicated than just Hamas coming over a fence on a Saturday morning
And
and
the
slaughtering
and
people.
then the anchor says, "Could this spread into a wider confrontation? Do you think? Do you think it possibly, under any circumstances, could do that?"
Well,
Yeah, it could. You ignorant twit.
yeah, yeah. I mean, some of the, you know, we've come from a generation of people who read off of teleprompters
For
and
too
had
long.
news written for them
For too long.
for a long time, and now we're into a generation of people that actually have to think about what they're doing. They're no longer news readers. They're now kind of hybrid news people talk show hosts. You have to be able to run an interview. You have to be able to get
But could
facts out of people.
could their producers please just write 5 questions for these people? Because the one thing they cannot do is ask a question. They
Well,
can't they can't pose a question to save their
I mean,
life.
they're holding the card. They can't read the question right off the card.
Put it on the teleprompter, put it somewhere, and on not one, give them 5 questions to ask, 5 real questions. Not, "What do you think of the what's the whole, when you look at the, I'm thinking, what do you think?" That's a question from
Or what
Jose
what
Ballard
I love
Diaz
is
is one of
what's
them.
next? Well, you got
You got,
18 dead bodies laying in a bowling alley in a restaurant. What do you think is next?
we have to do the foam spray. We gotta clean that bowling alley.
I mean, some of the questions sometimes are unbelievably stupid. And I don't know if they have 18-year-old kids writing these questions, but it seems to me that even an 18-year-old kid wouldn't be using the logic that some of these questions, these people that they're paying to produce these shows.
When you found your neighbor dead in the driveway, how did you feel?
Oh yeah, I love that one. That's the. I mean, we've been treated to an endless rotation of people who have either had somebody killed in Israel, somebody held hostage, or somebody killed in Maine. I mean, it's,
And that's the news.
and we've been warned endless times
This could be
how many
graphic.
people are, please don't watch. You may find this disturbing, which is the code word for call the kids inside. You want to see this?
You don't want to miss this, even though they're going to play it all afternoon.
Yeah, you won't miss it because we're going to replay it at 8 and 9 and 10 and 11. And then Erin Burnett is going to give you her view on it. And then Anderson Cooper is going to tell you what he thinks about it.
With the
And
same
then,
video.
and then whoever else they have that they can dig out until 3 o'clock in the morning, when they have the janitor and the vacuum cleaner lady come by and give their opinion on what's going on.
I want to know how CNN can broadcast news about China from Hong Kong. They've got studios there and in Singapore too. Some fine day, the anchor's going to be there saying, "We'll be right back after this picture of the world's oldest dog who died today. Wait a minute. There's Chinese troops at the door. What could they be doing here? It's got to be some sort of a mistake." Was it something I said about Deng Xiaoping that got him going?
That world's oldest dog story got some mileage on it this weekend. I mean, it was all over the place.
Made it Saturday Night Live. By the way, Saturday Night Live had a host that I had never heard of before, Nate
Yes.
Bargatze.
Yeah, a comedian.
He was my favorite new comedian of all time, right up there with Eddie Izzard for uniqueness and his own style, which was really great. Talking about he's 44 years old and is too old. At the age of 44, he's too old to know anything that's going on in the world. The technology sweep has passed him by, and you think, well, that's an old saw. But his take on it was unique, and they gave him a long time to do his intro.
Yeah, and I thought it was boy, I thought he just looked lost out there, man. I thought it was the worst host I've seen in a couple of years.
I went back and watched all his stuff on YouTube because I thought his delivery was so unique.
Yeah, I just see we're America. So one person looks at it and thinks it's great, another person looks at it and goes, "What were they thinking when they booked this guy?"
Did you see him when he played George Washington? And
yeah, that was probably the funniest skit of the show.
Yeah,
that was probably the best skit of the show. Even Weekend Update was weak this week.
Well, the other guy, Michael Che, didn't know his lines.
Yeah, they seem to get
what did he have to do all week that was so important that he didn't know what his material was for the actual show?
Yeah, nobody on Weekend Update should not know what's going on. Everybody, Jost and Che should know everything, and their timing should be down because they're not doing anything else. They write update.
That's it.
They put a tie on and they sit down and they read update.
Right.
It's really not, it's not a lot. Now, the woman who who did the agent, did Joe's agent, she's really
funny.
becoming a favorite of mine real very quickly.
Well, she's got a lot of she possesses the character. She becomes that character.
Yeah. Yeah, she's to me so far is the star out of that.
What's her name?
Oh, why can't not Heidi. I don't know.
They have such a huge cast.
Yeah, it's but she just has that it.
Yep. She's got the magic.
I can't. It's great. They put you go to Google for the Saturday Night Live cast, and they still have Kate McKinnon, A.D. Bryant, Tina Fey, Cecily Strong. I mean,
No,
hello.
I don't think so.
I think Sarah Sherman.
Sarah Sherman,
Sarah Sherman.
she's a good one. She's a keeper.
Yeah, she's just really funny. She plays a ton of different characters and just inhabits them.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, she just gets in there and and her yeah, just the character she plays, and her thing with Jost is really funny. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really, and you can see it. So if it's not genuine, it looks genuine.
Well, he's his funniest when he's embarrassed.
Yeah, yeah. But out of all of the cast members, I mean, I think she's well, I like Heidi Gardner a lot. I mean, I think she's very versatile. She's kind of, it's funny, she's versatile, but yet she seems to play one type of character. But I've seen her do different stuff and liked her. And
The guy that played Joe Biden is pretty good. He
uh,
had a
uh
lot. He had a lot of Biden's qualities.
yeah, yeah. Who was it? Was that Dismukes that was playing Biden, I think?
Could have been.
Yeah, I think it was Dismukes that was playing Biden. Although I thought that was a weak sketch. I didn't. It didn't. As a matter of fact, that was the second cold open sketch in a row that I thought was weak. I thought the one that they did the week before with Mikey Day playing the shit the dip without a jacket from Congress. Uh,
Oh yeah, Jim Jordan.
yeah, Jim Jordan. Thank you. I thought that was kind of weak too. So there's a couple of it's funny because I think that they are suffering from not going after Trump
Yeah.
as many comedians are. I mean, the only one that's still really going after Trump like he used to is Jimmy Kimmel. But even Stephen Colbert has backed
Lighten up.
off of Trump all the time. And
One of the uh, one of the highlights of this week is probably going to be Trump finding a way to get himself thrown into jail. He
I
needs a spark for
put
his
him in jail.
campaign.
I mean, listen. I'm one of those people that at this point would love to see it.
You commit a crime against the court, off you go.
Well, yeah, but you're gonna have to. What are you gonna do with him? You're gonna put him in. You can't put him in. You're not gonna put him in a regular. You can't send him to Rikers.
Why not?
You're gonna have to clear out a wing. He's still gonna get Secret Service protection in jail.
Let him go. Let him go to jail.
Well, you're still gonna have to. I mean, that's. I mean, these are all questions that are going to have to be answered. Does he still get Secret Service protection while he's in jail? Does he still? Does he eat the same food that everybody else? You're not going to keep him in the population. I mean, it presents a really interesting problem.
Well, the food is supposed to be pretty good at Rikers.
I
Food
can I
is
can tell you
ex-
from people I know that have been there, it
yeah.
is not.
Well, it gets a good review.
It is not good. Um,
Is it well
the
prepared, or is it just off food? It's
well,
like Hungarian goulash.
I think it's better than the bologna sandwiches in a wax bag that you used to get at one point, but I think they've upgraded it. But it's you know what it is? It's pretty standard hospital food is what it is. It's institutional food.
Lots of Jello.
Lots of Jello, lots of saltpeter. I don't know if they're allowed to do that anymore. At one time, though, I think they were, sticking saltpeter in the
Was there
food.
ever a band called Saltpeter?
If not, there should be.
The Saltpeter Rhythm Section.
I I am so not into you.
Well, I thought Nate Benghazi, whatever his name is, I had never heard of him before. I had never seen him before. I had no idea who he was about,
Yeah, I've heard.
I liked his opening of the show.
Yeah, I've heard him on the comedy, the Raw Dog Comedy Channel on a satellite thing there, and I mean he's okay. I don't think he's I don't think he's on a level with Bill Burr and some of those guys, but you know um I'm not. I'm kind of I don't know. There's some comedy is very interesting these days to listen to it straight out. It's so restrained these days. There's so many things you can't talk about because everybody's walking on eggshells because they don't want to get canceled. They don't want to get the wrath of whoever they may make fun of.
The Wrath of YouTube.
Yeah, the wrath of Twitter and YouTube and all of the social media stuff that goes on. That guys like what's his name there, Louis C.K. will tell you about, in a flat out minute, or any one of these guys that have been canceled. Um,
I thought that
you
it
know,
was the second song from Foo Fighters was good when they played with the girl who was on the lead guitar. They never said
yeah,
who she was. I had to look it up. It was her, Her.
yeah, she was a guest on the show last year, I think, or maybe even the year before.
She can
She
play. She can
was.
sing.
Yeah, no, that was a good segment. I like that, and I loved Christopher Walken coming at
Yes,
one of
yes.
the
His
one of the real
poem,
great things about Saturday Night Live is because they're in New York, they get so many different people
"Trick or Treat, Smell My Feet."
that are. Yeah, I was kind of half expecting Tom Hanks to show up doing his Halloween character, that something pumpkins. I forget what the name of it is, but it's become one of my favorite Halloween uh, characters.
Repeating, reoccurring characters.
Yeah, recurring character. He did it a couple of years, but I maybe wasn't in town. I don't know. But it was fresh to see him pop out of the door there. They should almost. I'm almost thinking that I always think of these skits for Saturday Night Live in my head, things that they should be doing, and I always almost think it's a time for them to do a recurring Dean Martin show. Like the old Dean Martin
Yeah,
Thursday night show that they used to do. It'd be fun to have the door and see who comes out of the door, and I always thought those were great shows, and they have enough of a cast to be able to. They used to do it with.
Steve
They did it
Martin.
with Vincent. What's the name of the comedian? He always played Vincent Price. Bill Hader,
Yeah,
and they did a great job with that. They had Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig would be the assorted, either Judy Garland or some kind of soused female singer from the '60s, female personality. And those were great. The Vincent Price specials that they did were hilarious. They had who was it that came on as James Mason, the guy from Mad Men, John Hamm,
Cam was.
came on and played a James Mason character. Played
eh,
James Mason actually.
Speaking of Eddie Izzard, Eddie Izzard was famous for all his evil characters had the James Mason voice.
Yes, it was great. It was great. And you had to know who James Mason was, but they were giving the audience hopefully credit for knowing who he was. But that was great stuff. When they do that kind of satire, nobody can touch them.
Did you
Some of
see
the
any of the World Series?
I caught a little bit of game one and game two. Now we go back to Arizona for 3, 4, and 5.
Yep. I saw Bochy's face when he was 9-1. He's leaning on the dugout and he's spitting mad. He's just angry, looking out at the field and going, I can't believe this crap is happening to me. And I thought, I remember that face. That's the face he had when he was with the Giants.
I left at 7-1. I remember looking at 7-1 and saying,
I think this game's over.
I think that's it. But listen, these are two teams that are. I mean, by all rights, Texas should be beating the crap out of them. But
Arizona's just not in the mood to go down.
they're not. Arizona has a bunch of people that you don't really know that well, but yet are great pitchers or great fielders. They're one of those teams you'll see them for a year, and then everybody will go somewhere else,
They'll make 2 trades. Somebody will break his leg, and it's all over.
and you won't see him for another 10 years.
What I hate about teams like that is that they're not the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're the Phoenix Diamondbacks. They can't have a town. They don't have a town. They don't have a city. They have a state. And it's like you fly to what do? You fly to Flagstaff and just start looking for where there might be a professional team. You drive around in concentric circles, ever wider, looking for the place where there might be playing professional baseball.
Same thing with the Rangers, though, right? Where I mean, the Texas Rangers. I mean, where do you look for them?
Well, you start in Fort
Should
Worth.
be the Dallas Rangers, right? Or
It
the
should be.
Arlington Rangers.
No, that's just ridiculous.
By
By the way, that's why the 49ers can't win. They're the San Francisco 49ers, but they don't ever get anywhere near San Francisco.
Maybe, well, if the Giants hadn't gone to the Super Bowl a number of times since they made the move across the river, I would say that you have a really good point there. But because the Jets haven't gone anywhere since they left Shea Stadium. Yet both of those teams are named New York and don't play in New York, whereas the Buffalo Bills aren't named in New York, and they're the only team that plays in New York.
And you can't count of those 3 teams. You really can't count. They're as strange as the 49ers are this year about who's going to win. Well, Buffalo's bound to win this game. No, they lose to the Browns. Oh, the Jets can't win this game. Wait, they beat the Giants. 49ers in Cincinnati at home? That's a gimme. Nope, not even close.
There's no gimmies in the NFL. I mean, if you learn anything in life, there are very few gimmies in the NFL because of penalties. I mean, Seahawks yesterday almost blew that game, and I really thought that they were going to because of penalties and interceptions. I don't know what they saw. And listen, I know people love Geno, and they love Geno and want to sing his praises. I think he's a quarterback that'll get you to the playoffs, but I don't know that he's going to get you much past the much past the first round or second round. He just throws, when the chips are down, he finds a way to throw the ball to somebody he's not supposed to.
The only teams that I know are going to win every weekend are the Eagles and the Chiefs. And the 49ers started the season playing at that level. Now they can't even protect the quarterback. They cannot protect the quarterback for one moment. He is unprotectable. He doesn't have time to throw to any of his receivers. Deebo Samuel is still injured. We're short on weapons. Can't run, can't pass, can't defend, can't kick. The list of things the 49ers suddenly can't do is astounding. Because Shanahan keeps calling the same plays, and he says, this is going to be great because it takes 15 seconds to develop. Purdy drops back and boom, it's over.
Yeah, not good. Yeah, the Seahawks seem to, it's a young team And I think people forget that sometimes, and they're going to make mistakes. Uh, either on defense or on offense, or somebody's not going to be where they're supposed to be, or somebody's not going to cover a gap like they're supposed to cover, and somebody's going to get through. That, but Gino's been around for a while,
He
and she
knows this
should
stuff.
be
Yeah.
able to not throw the ball to to work better under pressure, not to make mistakes. He's the one guy on the team that shouldn't make that many mistakes.
That's why they make them wear different uniforms. Gino might pick up on the fact that his team looks one way and the other team has a different look, different
Well,
colors.
he seems to give it away. I mean, we've always talked about quarterback eyes, and for whatever reason, when it comes down to the last 2 minutes in either the second quarter or the fourth quarter, uh, Gino seems to signal where he's going to throw the ball. Or he makes an under pressure decision to throw the ball, and it always seems to be um, right to somebody with two defenders in front of him.
I can force it in there.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what goes on. I think he thinks he can force it in there. He has the ability to do that, and I'm not going to say he never does, because he does sometimes when he throws a ball that reaches like that finds the person it's trying to find. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a very unbeautiful thing when it winds up in somebody else's hand, and all of a sudden they're running up the field with the passing you with the ball that you just threw that way. Never looks good.
The LA Times calendar section, which is the entertainment business section of the paper, put Frankie Valli on the cover this weekend. He just got remarried at the age of 89.
Yeah.
He's going to do a residence in Las Vegas at the Westwood Hotel, whatever it's called. It's got a new
Which we're
name.
gonna have to go to, Michael, or at least I'm gonna go. I mean, I think we need a Vegas road trip. Go see
And
Frankie Valli.
he's got a company called well, it doesn't matter what it is, a publishing company that's placing his music in commercials and television and other media projects. And they've had more interest in his work as a result of that effort than they have in recent years. And he is not retired. He's
Oh,
ongoing with
no.
his career. And the fact that we heard him play "Don't Think Twice, It's All Right" is the Who's Blues or whatever the name of
I wonder who.
the Wonder Who. The timing there was kind of interesting, and the article was great because he's completely tied to his career as he always has been in terms of what's next, what's going on, what am I doing beyond this? Now I don't know what he sounds like on stage at 89 years old, but
They
he must
put
put on a pretty good show.
I've seen him, let's see, I saw him 5 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. Maybe even sooner than that. Maybe before COVID. Obviously, I saw him. I saw him a few times. Saw him on Broadway when he did his Broadway show, not Jersey Boys, but he actually did a show on Broadway for a few weeks, and I went to see that. Matter of fact, that was just a few weeks before I got sick, and there's a lot. There's a lot of touch up on his voice. Let's just say that
Yeah,
I don't think you're not going to see Frankie Valli the singer. You're going to see Frankie Valli the show.
right.
Um, I know his musical director, Robbie Robinson, is the guy who's his musical director, and listen, there's a lot of studio work going on there
Good.
that you're hearing, but you're still, he still sings a lot of the parts, and he's entertaining out on stage.
Still working his way back to you, babe.
He's still he's working his way. You go and you see the audience that he has is all ages. young kids, you got older women. It's a very wide range of people, and there's a couple of bands that have done songs of his over the past few years. Somebody just did a version of "Beggin'" uh, a couple of years, maybe about a year ago, and then I don't know if you remember this, but um, who you call it did begging on American Idol. Adam, the guy who's singing with
Adam
Queen
Levine,
now. No, not Adam Levine. The guy who's singing with Queen.
Adam Lambert.
Adam Lambert. Yes, thank you. Adam Lambert is did begging as one of his songs, and that piqued some interest. So the songbook is
Revitalized.
is revitalized. It's still moving around, and it should. There's a lot of great stuff there.
Dawn, my
Oh,
favorite song.
yeah. No, who was it that I saw do something? Morrissey from the
Morrissey did Frankie Valli.
did a Frankie Valli song called "To Give Is the Reason I Live," and and it turned out pretty good. He was doing it. He was doing it. Boy, I seen him do it on a TV show he was appearing on. I don't know if I saw it on YouTube or maybe I saw it uh, somewhere else.
It's
But
hard to book Morrissey these days. He's so temperamental, he may or may not actually show up.
yeah, it's an old. Here, let me punch it up here. This is let's see.
Now I said, working my way back to you, I can't get that song out of my head.
And this is kind of an obscure Frankie Valli song, but yet.
Together is the reason I live. With all I can give in return for the life
Well, I think this might have been the follow up to "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You," but it was in
Uh-huh.
that 67, 68 um, period of when Frankie Valli was doing the Four Seasons, but he was also doing a bunch of solo stuff as well.
Right.
Yeah, it was. I think that might have been the follow up to "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You," but I was stoked when I heard that, man. I was like, "Holy crap, man! I know that song." But yeah, Frankie is enjoying a nice little,
A comeback.
comeback. Well, you see, it's funny because he really hasn't. He really didn't go away. I mean, he's been on the road. He does probably 100 dates a year, 50 to 100 dates a year.
Yeah, they were talking about that. He's on the road a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I almost get amazed. I got a chance to introduce them. Um, let's see, up here in 2007 or something like that, 2008. They played the casino up here, the Tulalip, and got a chance to, to meet him and talk to him and interview him and then go out on stage and actually introduce him. And
That's so cool.
oh, it was. It was really. It was. I mean, I did like sometimes it's like if you to me it was like getting to introduce the Beatles. I mean, for me it was because I've always been a Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons fan. It was always them and the Young Rascals. That both bands that underwent revivals. The Rascals. About 10 years ago, 8 years ago with the Broadway show. And then, of course, the 4 seasons before that. The next guy who's going to have a show that I'm really interested in seeing is they've written Dion has written a Broadway show,
Oh, I see.
and I know that he had it ready to go before COVID.
Is it called The Wanderer?
I think it is. I actually think it is called The Wanderer, and he and I know he was touting that a while, but then it kind of quieted down. I know they opened it in New Jersey, in Newark, at the theater there in downtown Newark, and I haven't heard much about it since then. But I know that they were auditioning people for it, and so on and so forth. So I mean, it's funny, and I've never gotten an answer to this question, and I've asked this question a million times of people that supposedly know Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen will pay tribute to almost every artist. I mean, he did a Bill Deal and the Rondell song to
Wow.
open up in Virginia Beach. He did "May I," which actually was a hit before that for the Tams, I think. Yeah, I think it was the Tams. Anyway, Bruce Springsteen hasn't done a Frankie Valli song on stage or a Four Seasons song, and I've always wondered why. You know what? And I've meant to ask. I actually have to send Robbie an email and ask him and see if I think there might be some kind of anonymity there or something. Like there might be something. Frankie might have brushed by him sometime when he was 16 years old. And Bruce.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that they've encountered each other somewhere somehow.
You would think they would have to have met.
But I've never. I mean, I would love to hear the E Street Band doing Ragdoll.
It's a tough one. If you get the music together, but who's going to sing it?
Yeah. Well, you don't have to sing it in falsetto. You can sing it in a. I mean, you can copy Frankie Valli if you want to, but you could sing it in a regular voice. The song still stands up.
Sure.
Oh, I don't know. I've never heard anybody cover that song. Have you?
None of their major hits seem to be covered by anybody because they're so distinctive in their delivery. If you cover it and change it, people are saying, well, I like the original better. How come you didn't do that? How come you can't sing it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of, Working My Way Back to You was covered by the Spinners. They had a pretty big hit with that.
That makes sense. They had a group sound.
Yeah.
And Frankie didn't sing it in the super falsetto. The chorus there is in real voice.
No, he sang
harmony.
a lot of that song in the falsetto. That was a pretty Four Seasons, straight in the wheelhouse, 67. I'm trying to think of something else. Begging we talked about was done, but no, you don't hear you don't hear a lot of covers of Four Seasons. There's probably not enough to do a Four Seasons like Cover Me tribute album.
Not unless you've got a voice that'll.
Or you're a woman. A woman can sing them songs.
No.
A kind of high-voiced, falsetto-voiced woman could probably get down and get dirty with a few of those songs.
You need a soprano, and I mean a voice, not Autumn.
Well, Frankie was in The Sopranos.
He sure was.
Yeah, he was.
In fact, he got out of his car to give directions to the guys, if you remember.
Yeah. It didn't work out for.
Frankie, don't get out. Don't get out. Mr. Valli, Mr. Valli, please don't get out of the car.
Same thing's going to happen to you that happened to Frank Vincent, man. To Phil Leotardo. Poor Phil got run over by his own car.
He asked for it. He was a jerk.
Yeah, he was a jerk. I don't think many people shed a tear when Phil Leotardo got it. You know, big pussy, man. I think there was a few people that were upset, but Phil, nah.
Or Bobby.
Especially the way he got it, though.
Yeah.
Oh, what a way to go, man. You get
Bobby
one
got it at the train store.
who got it at the train store?
Bobby
Yeah.
Bacala.
Bobby Batragaloop. Yeah, he got it. Yeah. Which is an interesting way to go.
He loves his trains. He loved trains.
He loved trains, and they took him out in one. Yeah, must have been interesting to come up with ways to kill people every week.
What was the name of the boat?
Guy.
What was the name of the boat that they kept out in front of the lawyer's house playing Dean Martin's show? And the one where they took Big Pussy out. What was the name of that boat?
Oh, not the Adrian.
No. You wouldn't want to be going on the SSS Adrian.
Yeah. Oh, what the hell was the name of that boat?
It wasn't Bada Bing, it was
You know, the Bada Bing was the night. Maybe it was. Yeah, no, I don't know. You know, it's so funny. I did not watch an episode of The Sopranos until I came out of a. Well, I think I watched one episode, and then when I came out of the coma, that was the first thing I watched, front to back.
wow.
Went from episode 1 to
Jimmy Buscemi and the shotgun, and on we go.
oh yeah, you just go right from there. The Stugats.
Stugats. that was busy. Can we take the Stugats out? No, it's engaged for the day. Call me in a week.
Oh, here you go, Mikey. Tony Soprano's boat is for sale.
Whoa, the Stugats?
The Stugats is up for sale in Connecticut. It's up for sale by the United Yacht Sales in Stamford, Connecticut, for a whopping $299,900. It's a 1997 Cape Fear 47, featured in the first season. They used 3 models to represent Tony's 2 boats, the Stugats and the Stugats 2.
And the translation of Stugats for those of us who don't speak New York Italian.
It's like screw you, Stugats.
Stugats.
Stugats. Let's see what else. Oh, you could have bought stuff from the Bada Bing back in August 2007. The stripper poles, the pool table, the disco ball, and more. And then James Gandolfini evidently sold all of his personal items before he died with Christie's. All of the wardrobe, $187,750.
I can't think of a shirt that Tony ever wore that I wanted.
I think I have 3 or 4 shirts that Tony wore in the style of Tony wore. All of his stuff went for $187,750. All proceeds from that auction were donated to the Wounded Warrior Foundation.
I like the fact that when Tony got up in the morning, he wanders into the kitchen in his bathrobe, opens up the refrigerator, and there are a variety of cut meats from the deli for him to dine on for breakfast. Open up the white paper and reach in and get, I don't know what. It doesn't matter. Salami, something.
Yeah, you always want to make sure that you get. Well, a lot of Italian people eat salami and eggs for breakfast. Genoa salami instead of bacon and eggs. They have salami and eggs. And I used to eat that on a sandwich all the time for breakfast.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, Genoa salami and eggs with a piece of provolone cheese on it. Ooh.
Now you're living.
That's what you call living, my man. That's what you call living. Oh man, what else? What else happened this weekend? Anything else?
Well, I saw a picture of the car that you're driving, but I can't remember what it was. It didn't ring a bell. I couldn't put my finger on it.
It's a Buick Invista.
Oh, that's right. The Buick.
Yes. Would you really rather have a Buick?
Sure, why
Really
not?
nice car. I really like the car. I really
And now it's an Invista. They used to have Invictas.
Yes, they had. Yes, they did. They had an Invicta. Probably from 61 to 65 or something like that. Maybe even 60. In 59 they might have had Invictus. I don't know if they had, they had the Century and the Special
No, the
and
Saber.
the Roadmaster
Oh yeah.
and the Invicta. And I think the Invicta was probably the lower. It only had 2 portholes on the side instead of 3.
Oh no. What were they thinking?
That's how you used to tell the cheaper models on Chevys and Buicks. If you looked at the Chevy, the Bel Air
Was silver and
had
gold.
1 light in the back. The Biscayne had 2 lights, and the Impala had 3 lights. And that's how you told what model of Chevy was from the back.
3 for the money.
We had 2 tail lights, 1 tail light, 2 tail lights, 3 tail lights.
What year was the Buick when it was huge? It had the giant fins with the round tail light. It was 59, 58?
It was a 60.
It's 60.
59 and 60, but 60 is the one.
That was a huge car.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, a friend of my father's had one. Man, that thing was honking big. I mean, just absolutely. You could fit 4 people in the back seat with no problem.
And no seatbelts, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, he didn't have seatbelts. I mean, you had probably 2 seatbelts in the front, but you would. Those cars. And the funny thing about the Buick, I remember this because there was, you would start the Buick not by turning the key. You know how you start a regular car,
Right.
you turn the key and boom, you let it go. The Buick started by you pushing down on the gas pedal,
Yep.
and which led to a situation where several of the cars, neutral safety switch didn't work. So it was possible to start the car
And go
in
somewhere.
front.
Oh,
So
God.
several of those cars wound up wrapped up around poles and on sidewalks and going through intersections and up people's lawns because somebody would go to start it. They'd press down on the gas. The car would be in drive
Off you go.
or in reverse. And, it just went boom. And before you could figure out what was going on, you were a block away.
For half a year, I had a 57 Chevy when I was in Miami. And it was somebody had taken the shift off. It was a standard shift. They'd taken the stick off the column and put in a hearse linkage on the floor.
Ah,
And they moved the starter from the key from the dashboard to underneath the gas pedal. So you had to press on the accelerator to start the car. Now it never went in there wasn't drive because you could easily put your hearse into neutral.
right.
But I remember that I always forgot to tell the parking lot guys how to start the car. And it's like they come back and they've got the keys and they go, "We can't start your car." I go, "Just take me to it. I can start it."
Oh my God. That's a dangerous combination. I mean, you could start the cars in those days. Nowadays you have to, if you have a stick shift, you have to press down on the clutch all the way to start the car. But in those
Right.
days, you could just turn the key on, and if you had a powerful enough engine, it would just start up and go if it was in gear.
It would get going.
You always had to make sure that thing was in neutral, or else boom. Especially if we had like a big block, a 427 or something like that.
It's ready to go.
It had a ton of power, ton of torque to it. it would just turn that transmission over. The next thing you know, you're flying down the street trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
That's why you need a big Buick that's bigger
And
well,
everything else.
it's about the size of Delaware. That's how big it is.
The trunks in those cars were like unbelievable. I mean, I remember they had a full-size spare tire, and you could fit in a vacation's worth of luggage
On
in
top
that
of that
truck
tire,
and
yeah.
still have room to spare.
And there's room if they just designed a couple inches one way or the other, still to put a real tire in your trunk, but they don't care.
Yeah, I mean, still, yeah, you could still a lot of cars you could still. I mean, the smaller cars, it's tough. A lot of cars now they just give you a can of sealant, and say, here, use this.
Good luck on the El Camino Real with a can of sealant that may or may not actually have any sealant in it.
Yeah, what they don't tell you is if you leave that thing in the car for 2 or 3 years,
It turns into sludge.
it turns into nothing. And you're getting out to plug that thing in your car at 2:00 in the morning when it's raining, and there ain't nothing happening. You got to be calling AAA,
Or you could call Annie Granatelli.
and he'd bring you STP, the Racer's Edge.
That would get you going. You
Not to
still
make
only
it
have 3
confuse with
tires.
Black and Bottle.
No, don't confuse it with Bardol.
It would bring you, of course, a can of bottle top oil.
What do you think costs more? Filling your tank in California, by the way, the low price now is $4.79, or was this weekend anyway, or buying windshield wipers, which I just did. It's supposed to be a rainy time.
I'm going to go with filling your tank because
Yeah,
windshield wipers should probably be, if you buy them, and if you go to like an AutoZone and buy them, I would think $30 tops.
Well, I went to O'Reilly and I bought Bosch, $75.
Bosch is really a really good one. So yeah, but you could buy. I mean, you could go to Costco or to what's the other place I'm thinking of?
In and
There's
out.
another retailer that has the like the Goodyear ones, and those are. And again, I mean, it's been a while since I haven't bought wiper blades in years.
I watched the guy put them on. He knew what he was doing. My comment was, no man in his right mind will put on his own wiper blades. You got to help me here. Installation is free with the purchase. So they must put a little installation vig on top of that. But
no, usually they do that. If you go to an O'Reilly's or AutoZone or something like that, they'll usually pop that like a battery. I mean, maybe they build it into the price of the of the item, but they'll put in like if you buy a couple of quarts of oil, they'll put the oil in for you. They'll put the wipers on. They'll install a battery. They'll do that kind of simple stuff.
You know what I think those auto stores would sell a lot of, and that is funnels. You got the oil, you got the car. You got the oil outside the car, you have to get it in the car. What do you need? You need a funnel.
You need a funnel.
And do not think you can just eyeball it. No, you can't. Nobody can.
I've never used a funnel. I eyeball it all the time.
Well, you're a professional, then.
I just open that can up. Now I used to have a spout that you would push down into the oil can, and then just that would go into the thing. But
it never fit tight, so it was always leaking.
I may still actually have that spout in my toolbox. And where is my toolbox? After everything else in Pittsburgh. Half my freaking life is in Pittsburgh. I still got a complete set of mechanics tools back in, I got a whole set that I've had for, a gazillion years sitting back there. Probably, $5,000 worth of tools. That
sell them to the guy who buys the Stugatz too. He's going to need tools.
He's going to need tools. But something tells me if he's going to pay $300,000 for that boat, he's probably got a set of tools already.
You know what they call boats? I remember this from my time growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area. A hole in the ocean where you pour your money.
Yeah. What's the 2 best days when you own a boat? The day you buy it and the day you sell it.
And the day you sell it is a much happier day than the day to buy it.
Yeah, I've always resisted. I've always wanted to have a boat, and I've resisted throughout. I've been lucky enough to know enough people that have a boat, so I can go out.
Where would you go? Camino Island?
Say what?
Where would you go? Camino Island?
Well, I mean, you go over to Vashon. You can go over. Usually, I go. My friend lives up at Spirit. Doesn't live there. He's got a summer place at Spirit Lake up in Idaho. So there's a couple of resorts on Spirit Lakes and bars that cater to the boat people. So you can pull up at the resort, park your boat, dock your boat there, and go up and have dinner or whatever, and hang out, and then come back down, get your boat, and take it across the lake to where you live. He's even got a little boat garage.
A boat overhang? I mean, a covered area?
Yeah, it's a garage, and it's goes right up to the lake, and he could just pull his boat into the garage. There's a dock in there, and you get out. And
I always feel more comfortable in somebody else's boat. I don't want to be driving it. I don't want to be sailing it. I don't want to be in charge.
He bought a brand new boat this past summer, and he had to take the boat over for service to the marina. So how did this work out? He had to go over there and take another boat. I don't know how this all worked. Anyway,
A loaner.
line was it wound up that I drove the boat, the new boat, over to the marina. And I got to tell you, it was
It's daunting.
it's just a different set of rules you have to remember. You pass a different way. You have to remember not to make a wake here, not to do this. Yeah, and and you're out on the lake, and there's crap can happen. I mean, crap can happen anywhere.
But it will happen at sea.
Yeah, but I'm not one of those people that think, oh, and go as fast as you can. I'm a very cautious, especially when I don't know exactly. Not that I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm not as familiar with driving a boat as I am driving a car. So I'm going to take it nice and slow and try not to make any mistakes, or at least if I make a mistake, be in a position where I can fix it real quick. If you're doing 40 miles an hour across the water, which is quite fast,
you've already made a mistake.
You don't have, the opportunity, because it's not like a car where you just turn it and it goes. I mean, you got to leave yourself some room.
And try to stop one sometime. There's no brakes.
Well,
they don't stop.
It stops surprisingly better than I thought it would. I mean, anytime I've driven a boat, but this one, because it was it had like reverse thruster or something. I don't know. And you pull on this and it reverses the engine. It actually stopped much better than I thought it would. But I stopped a mile from the dock.
Coasted in, yeah.
Just ease it in. I'm not looking. It's not my boat. The last thing I want to do is crash this thing, especially pulling up to a resort where all these people are looking, and then on top of it, damage my friend's boat. But you see that, you get these people, they've had a couple of pops. You think it's crazy out on the road driving. I mean, you just assume that everybody driving a boat has had a couple of beers. It's just what you do.
That's why the fish won't bite.
Yeah, I mean, you just assume that everybody's drinking. And so you got to leave yourself some space. And don't always assume because you're yelling at somebody that they're going to hear you.
And you got to come creeping in at a governable speed.
Yeah,
well, those docks don't give.
Boat.
Yeah,
I mean, again,
how big a boat was it?
Boy, I don't even know. I think it might have been it wasn't a Chris Craft, but it was, a
14
regular,
feet, 25 feet.
25-foot, maybe 30-foot boat with um a Chevy engine in it, I believe, like a small block Chevy.
How many lights in the back?
I think there were two. I think two on each side. It was a Biscayne.
Biscayne.
It was
name for Biscayne Bay in Miami.
I would, but I would, I always thought it would be nice to have a boat around here in the summer, so you go out on the lake on a nice night, and you know what and I know enough people that I could probably rent one or something like that, but I've promised my kid that I'm going to take her out on a boat one of these summers. I better get moving though. How many summers I have left?
Well, this summer's done. I don't know what the weather's like where you are, but I saw in Wenatchee everybody's wearing parkas.
It was cold. Matter of fact, it's cold today. It's supposed to get warmer because it's going to get stormier. But right now it's very clear, and I think we're at it was like 30 something degrees when I awoken this morning. It is now, let's see what we got here. Edmonds, 47 and sunny, high of 54, low at 35, and it'll be sunny all day, wind gusts up to 8 miles an hour. Sunset today at 4:54 p.m. It should be clear tonight. And starting about 4 o'clock in the morning, there'll be a stormy front moving in. Temperatures will be in the high 30s.
Well, we're not that far apart, but we're worlds apart in terms of weather. It's going to be sunny and 78 today, but high winds and a red flag warning for fire danger in Southern California. So we have to
Really?
be cautious. Yeah, because of the high winds in certain valleys. Red flag warning until 10 o'clock tonight, but our high temperature coming up today, 78 degrees.
It's funny. I spent a bit of time this weekend looking at. I always thought it would be a good idea to try to retire to Santa Barbara, and unfortunately, the price of things in Santa Barbara has gone way further than I'm ever going to be able to achieve.
Further than it should have.
Yeah, further than it should have. It's certainly further than I'm going to achieve, unless I meet some very rich, well-to-do woman in Santa Barbara, which I don't think is going to happen either.
Well, Oprah Winfrey was asking about you.
Was she? Is she in Santa Barbara?
Oh, yeah, Montecito.
I'll have to stop by and see her sometime. But she's not up by Cachuma, is she?
No.
Out in like Santa Ynez Valley out there?
No, that would be nice.
Yeah, that would be so I've started to look at warm weather alternatives, and I've set my sights on a place called Alpine, California.
Now that's in the Sierra, isn't it?
No, it's in. No, you're probably thinking of Arnold. Alpine is out Interstate 8 from San Diego.
Okay, I know where that is. Yes.
Yes, a couple of casinos within fairly close proximity, and it's just before you go over the mountains and get into the desert.
The Imperial Valley.
Yeah. I actually have been there a bunch of times. Starting back in like the first time that I drove to San Diego in the 60s or 70s, actually, the early 70s, and stopped in Alpine. It's a sleepy little hippie town back then. Now it's a more awake hippie town, but there's still that kind of looks like there's still that cool factor. So I got to go. I'm going to go next time I come to Southern California. I'm going to go look at it. Rents seem to be a little bit high, but I don't know. Maybe it's time to get out of the cold weather,
Well, I can't handle it anymore, that's for sure. I did 3 winters in Wenatchee, and that is my last time in the snow.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward. I'm cold already.
And I am so sick of going down hard on the ice. I just won't do that.
Yeah. I usually, it hasn't bothered me.
Somebody's going to get hurt, I'm telling you.
Well, you know what? Last year it bothered me for the first time in a long time. It didn't bother me when I was back in Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh is surprisingly mild. Um, because of where it sits, it doesn't get. I mean, the lake effect snow doesn't come down that far. Not usually. Sometimes it does, but usually it stops north of Pittsburgh.
Plus, Cleveland uses a lot of that lake
Right.
weather for their to keep their people subdued.
And you get
Please remain
more
subdued.
up from the south because you're in that like kind of West Virginia, so you get so while it's gray a lot, it's not um it's not like it's not an overabundance of snow.
Right.
You get a few inches here, a few inches there, and then once in a while it dumps. Every once in a while you'll get the prerequisite 30-inch blizzard like the first weekend I got there. Should have told me something when I got there. Uh, but anyway, we're talking about Pittsburgh weather. I'm sure that it's cold in Pittsburgh this morning if you're a Steeler fan.
Oh,
It
it's
ain't pretty.
cold. It's cold.
I could only imagine what the fan sounds like this morning. A bunch of Pittsburgh people just whining about
If they can fix it, it's by firing Mike Tomlin.
fire the coach. You fire the coach, and we'll be happy to take him here. You tell him that we have fish here in Seattle, and he'll enjoy it.
Have some fish. It's brain food.
He can follow up a class act in Pete Carroll. And
Is Pete talking about next year?
I don't know what Pete's talking about next week at this point. I mean, I think he's I think he's digging the young kids. I think he's digging the chance to have a young team and bring them along. I mean, I don't know how long he's going to be here with them. I mean, the guy's 72 already, so maybe he stays till he's 75, right? And at that point says, you don't want to go travel for a few years.
I thought he was older than 72, but that's good.
No, I think he is 72. And but he's still. I mean, he's running up and down the sidelines, and he's moving around.
He's a busy dude.
Yeah, he's not an old looking 72. He's a very young looking 72, and he seems to be able to relate to a lot of his players, to be able to talk to them. They have immense, it seems, respect for him.
Well, if you're talking about football, he can talk about football.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you listen to him? Why would you absorb everything he has to offer you, to teach you about the game and about how life in the game is lived? But you got to think at some point he's going to want to, go travel the world, see something before
See
he
something
shovels
besides
up the oil.
stadiums. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what he does. But I think he's got, I think the Russell Wilson thing wore on him a bit. But since he's
well, probably from the inside, it was a lot worse than it was from the outside because Russell Wilson is a bit of a head case. I guess we always knew that.
Yeah. I mean, he seems to me be the classic guy that has too many people telling him what he should be doing.
You don't need someone to tell you what you should be doing if you're a quarterback. You don't need you have your coach, you have your offensive coordinator. You don't need idiots in the business side saying, Russell, that rollout is ridiculous. You got to stop that.
Well, but I think that's partially what he had. I think he has had.
Well, that's right. He had his own coach, right?
Right. He had his own coach, and then he's got his business people. He's got, his wife and her fashion thing, and play football. Don't worry.
The game's hard enough.
Yeah, play football. Otherwise, you'll find that one day you can't play football anymore, and you'll say, "What the hell happened?" Now,
I have a question for you, Vinnie, about your website. When you put together your website, were you happy with the template? And would you have done it differently if you were going to start all over again?
Well, if I was going to start all over again, I'd learn more about how to design it myself
Right.
instead of using the template. There's several courses that you can take on how, but my website's really simple. I don't know if you've looked at it, but it's fairly simple.
Do you pay a monthly fee?
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I pay yearly. I own the domain name, and then I pay a yearly fee to keep it on the server and use their software to change it. I haven't changed much in a long time, but I mean all the basics are there. My you know some pictures and biography and a resume page and clips of shows and stuff and stuff like that. That that are there if anybody wants to. I mean, if you want to know about me or hear what I do or what we do, I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of clips of us on there. Um, you can find it on there. If you're a program director and you want to hire me, there's enough information on there to be able to contact me and to be able to, you know, read who I am and what I do and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
When you
I
go
don't
step by what I find frustrating is I'm using a template called Wix, WYX,
yeah.
and as you go step by step, you can't see what you've done. You don't know what it's going to look like at the finish, and you don't. And I don't know now when it's time to pay if I'm going to get what I want at the end because I have to stage music on there, and so it has to hold a lot of megabytes, and
Did
I'm,
you
I'm,
look
I'm,
at GoDaddy?
I'm going to try that again today.
Yeah, look at GoDaddy. Did you look at Network Solutions?
No, Wix was the number one recommended site builder.
Yeah, I use the Network Solutions and I use it because I'm familiar with it.
Right.
I don't know if it's the best program or not, but I like the way my website looks. I mean, I think it looks okay. It looks a little dated now. I mean, I probably have to do a whole refresh on it. I just haven't
Yeah.
had the gumption to do it.
Well, I have to work on that today, so I'll try GoDaddy.
Yeah, try GoDaddy and then let me know how you make out. And if you need help, let me know.
I'll
I'll be
call
happy.
you.
Yeah.
All right, Vinny. So much for a malfeasance Monday.
Yes,
Maybe
we made it.
Donald Trump will be in jail by a wacky Wednesday.
Who's testifying today? I think Uday goes today, right?
I like the fact that Ivanka came up with a plan. John Jr.
Donald Jr.
Donald Jr. was the executor, and Eric licked the envelopes.
What a wacky family, man. Why, if you had that family, would you want to be president?
We were thinking that the president was going to turn on his kids, but it's like it's going to be the other way around.
Yeah,
Dad said we had to do it. Dad said we had to.
Yeah, I got a funny feeling the kids are going to be songing and dancing it to save their asses.
Hey, Dad, when you're in prison, can I have your skinny suits? No,
Yeah,
Eric.
well, listen. Are you going to use the hair dye in prison, or can I hang on to that?
Because Phil Spector wasn't allowed to keep his wig when he went to prison. You remember?
Leading to some really bizarre-looking pictures.
It was weird for Phil. He never came out.
Well, it was probably weirder for the woman he killed, but
long overdue. He pulled a gun on the Ramones when he was producing their album.
oh yeah, no, he was famous for I mean, I think he pulled the gun on Ronnie Spector a number of times. Did she write in her biography that he had pulled a?
I'm sure he did.
Yeah, he was. I mean, as gifted as he was as a musician, it looks like he was a little psycho.
Who else came up with having three basses in a session? You don't have three basses. You have one bass. Nope, three.
I think Phil banged his head into the wall of sound a few too many times.
I think he might have.
I think that was That was
He,
Phil.
he never got over being in the teddy bears.
Hey, to know him is to love him, right?
To know him, if you knew him, you'd love him.
If you knew him, you'd love him. Well, I don't know.
If you knew him, you wouldn't be surprised when he pulled a gun on the Ramones.
All right, man. I will talk to you on Wednesday if the Lord's
right.
willing. Don't rise.
It'll be a wacky day.
Hey, peace, love, and Manischewitz, pal.
What a wine!
See
Then
you.
there's 3 lights on Manischewitz bottle. You know it's a
2
Impala.
lights. It's the cheaper Manischewitz.
That's the Biscayne Manischewitz.
See you later.